I remember going to a party, me and my homeboys, and we drive up. And Mauricio, as soon as we drive up and park, all of a sudden, sheriffs, like 3 or 4 cars, just come up and they basically just raid the entire thing. It's like, come on, man, they couldn't have done that like 5 minutes before we rolled up. I mean, they couldn't have done that like 30 minutes afterwards, even. Why is this having to happen like right now when we pull up? And so they come to our vehicle, have us come out the car and get out of the vehicle. And I had at least, I mean, it must have been, I don't know, it must have been maybe like, I'd say probably like almost 20 grams marijuana on me. Had it in a little tube, thinking I must roll something up at some point in time in the party and stuff. And, we could just hang out, chill or whatever. And I'm like, I got to get rid of this. So the cop, how does this come out? All my homeboys go out in the front. He does not prevent me from going out the back. So it was like this golden opportunity for me to just go and flick it real quick. It's dark. He ain't gonna see it. So I go and throw the tube. When I throw the tube, I'm like, man, I'm so slick. Look how I pulled this off. Out of nowhere, this wind just blows in West Texas. This wind just all of a sudden blows in West Texas and blows the thing. I watch it go this direction and it goes all the way back over here into the front passenger, in front of the front passenger uh, tire. I'm like, are you kidding me? There's no way that they're
Dang.
not gonna see this. So
Yeah, that wind trying to get you taken out, man.
yeah. So as soon as I'm walking across there, guess what? I'm how to walk through that path. And then the sheriff's like, whose is this? What is this? And he picks it up immediately. It's near me. And he's like, whose is this? And everybody gets quiet. I'm like, oh man, this is horrible. I don't even know what to do right now. And one of my homeboys,
Praying. Just start praying, bro.
took the fall, man. They took him to jail.
Wow.
He took it for me. And I was like, wow, man. So that rocked me because it's like I ain't never been to jail. I ain't never, had to go to jail for anything. And I from now work in the medical field and stuff. So if you had some on your record, like that kills your opportunity tremendously, to do what I'm doing with 5 kids now and a wife. And, she's a stay-at-home mom. I always knew she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Like that would have completely perverted my entire destiny. But he took the fall. And so that happens, and that's like, man. And so then just recently within that same time, I'm sitting here getting high in my dormitory, which you shouldn't do that. Word to anybody else. Don't get high in a dormitory at a university. Don't smoke. Don't do any of that stuff. Period. But definitely don't do it there. So there were some people there who had smelt the weed, and I had a system where I had a fan and I had an outlet and all these things to make sure it was blowing out of the window and going out rather than going into the hallway. But somebody, I guess, smelled something. I had even had a towel underneath the door and stuff so it didn't fumigate out. And somebody, I guess, called the cops. And right before I guess they got there is what I was told. Somebody knocked on the door and said, hey, the police are coming for you, man. You need to get all your stuff and leave. They're coming. And so I like packed up everything, called my homeboys, my vehicle. The wheel on one of the wheels was flat and I didn't have it fixed yet, so I couldn't drive. So I had somebody come pick me up. And supposedly right before they got there, I was able to get out. And so that happens. And then, the girls that I was talking about, situation happened where that completely just blew up altogether. You know, I ain't never do anything with any of them or anything like that. But I was definitely playing the game, and of course, that's not my personality. So, but it was cool up until now, and now all of a sudden it just blew up, and I'm like, wow, I feel like a loser. This is not cool, and now I'm feeling bad about that. It's like this stuff dumb. Why did I do that? Like they saying even me. So all this stuff is going through my head, right? And I'm probably about a couple weeks from finishing that semester off, got finals and stuff. And as I'm walking to my dormitory, all this stuff is happening. It's really penetrating my mind, you know. And as I'm walking into the dormitory, I remember seeing these stacks of Bibles that was in a dormitory. And there was this little girl, a young girl who was there. And she was part of an organization called Campus Crusades for Christ. And I probably should look up the affiliation with them and what they believe and all these type of things. But in short, they had a bunch of Bibles that they were giving out to people. And they wasn't really giving them to anybody else that I saw at the time. But I remember looking over, seeing, we made eye contact, and she timidly said, "Hey, do you want to take one of these?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure," you know. And in my mind, I was so oriented to, patronage, that I was like, "Okay, I'll sell this," you know. This is an object I'm gonna have to maybe make some money off of, or somebody come by the dormitory and say, "Hey, you want a Bible? Here, $5, man. I give it to you." Whatever. I was just in that mindset, you know. It's so wrong, but that's the mindset I had. But I had that Bible. I kept it. In all honesty, I didn't try to sell it. It stood out to me. There's some spiritual going on that no man really recognizes at the time, but that Bible began to stand out to me. And a few times I take opportunities to try to read and just read certain aspects of scripture, but I couldn't ever understand the word of God. It didn't feed me. It was just like a block. And now I understand it as the reason was because there was no worshipful desire to know God truly. Only reason I was really trying to read was to get some help advice, self help. It wasn't to know the creator of all heaven and earth. It was just like, hey, I'm curious as to, what kind of advice I can get in here to be better, maybe to better extort people, or maybe better to, be a little more smoother in my operation or whatever. It wasn't to know God. It wasn't to know Jesus. But so I was very conflicted in the soul and spirit, And so it got to the point where I'm about to graduate or about to finish the semester, and I'm scared to go home because I got like a pound of marijuana with me that I just bought. And I've been stopped by the cops, and even going home for spring break, I think there was a moment where I was riding down back road getting high, and that's just what you do. And that was like my comfort place. It was my alone time. I was very much a loner. Sometimes people would come with me, or I have a brother with me and stuff, or one of my family members, like my brother, one of my brothers with me, and we'd go down back roads and just smoke a blunt. And but most time I was by myself because that was my time just to kind of like be me, myself, and I. Like my mindset was I don't need anybody. Everybody's hurt me in my life, so why do I need anybody? I'm good. I'm my own best friend. And so was the escape. And so I'm riding down the back road by myself, getting high, and sure enough, woo, woo, a cop straight up, sheriff, straight up down what we call roller coaster road, the back road that I live near, pulled me over. And right before I pulled over, of course, I knew some skills. So I had compartments that I knew, if I ever got pulled over, where I stash it in areas of my vehicle where it wouldn't get found unless a dog searched it and stuff. But I had part of the blunt. I went ahead and put it out, doom doom, and I was well versed on teaching how to thump it out. And so I rolled down the passenger window with the embers, out, so it wasn't even flickering, and I flicked that joker way out in the woods, like a pro. But yet the vehicle smelled like marijuana, and so, but you know, if he wanted to get me on something, I'm sure there was probably a little bit of grains or something in there. Um, and so he pulled me over, and he said, "I know what you're doing, son. I know what you're doing." And he said, "You know what? But there's something different about you."
Come on. No,
He said,
sorry.
don't ruin your life." He's basically said something along the line, "Don't ruin your life. There's better for you than this, and I'm gonna let you go." And he showed me grace.
Man, that's good.
He showed me grace.
Man.
Didn't call for a dog. None of that.
In East Texas, bro?
Yeah, in East Texas, down a back road, showed me grace. And
And you're a minority?
exactly. And I wasn't, I wasn't wearing Ralph Lauren and a turtleneck. Like I straight up would probably had
Yeah.
some sweats and a hoodie or something like that. You profile as you will, but it is not a good look, man.
Yeah.
Smell like
Yeah.
weed. He showed me grace, man. He showed me grace.